Look guys, not being able to play the kind of forehand that you know you should be can be very frustrating. You're putting in a lot of effort into the stroke, but you're not getting the power and consistency that you want. In my experience, there's just a couple of mistakes that are holding us back that if we fix, we can start to play really good forehands. So in saying that, I'm going to go through 6 of the biggest mistakes I used to make on my forehand and how I fixed them, so you can avoid them and fix them if you're having the same issues. Let's get into it. Alright guys, the first mistake is the stiff arm syndrome. This is a mistake that took me a long time to fix in myself, and I see players that I'm coaching, they unconsciously grip their racket tighter in hopes of creating more power, when in actuality it doesn't create any more power at all. When players tighten their grip, it causes their arm, their wrist, their shoulder to get really tight throughout the stroke, and this is a very common bad habit, and it just tends to stem from a misguided attempt to create power. So instead of gripping the racket more tightly, try a more relaxed grip. Imagine this, right? You have a small little delicate bird in your hand. You don't want to crush it, but you don't want to also let it fly away. You want to hold it just tight enough so it stays in your hand, doesn't wander off into the jungle and get eaten, but you don't want to squeeze it in your hand so tight to the point where it dies. But the key here is to relax your muscles, okay? Contrary to popular belief, a relaxed arm can actually travel much faster than a super tensed and rigid one. By keeping your arm loose, by keeping your entire arm a little bit looser, you allow the kinetic energy that's being generated in your shot to whip through your arm and create more power more easily. And for people that complain that, oh, my arm gets really tired when I'm playing my forehand and backhand, you're also going to get less tired. When you relax your muscles, there's less tension and less buildup of lactic acid. So you're going to be able to play your forehand for longer as well. Now the second mistake, guys, is the arm first habit, okay? This is a very crappy fundamental mistake, right? So when a ball comes wide, a player needs to move. They'll start to play the stroke and almost finish it before they get there. It turns your forehand into a desperate sort of reaching shot instead of a controlled, powerful and stable stroke. The fix for this is to prioritize your footwork over anything else. You need to move before you play. If you start your forehand stroke as you're moving, you lose so much stability and your consistency is going to go down a ton. That is why it is so important to be in position first before you play. If you could click your fingers and have the genie have you be in position 100% of the time, you'd probably be at least 2 or 3 times the player that you are right now. Positioning matters so much, so you need to prioritize it by moving first to the forehand and then playing your shot. Now the third mistake is not using your body enough. Many players, including myself from a couple of years ago, would try and generate all the power in their shots with just their arm and shoulder, showing no movement in their body. This completely caps the power you can generate on your shot. To fix this, think of your backswing as a winding up of your body, not just your arm. You've got to initiate the swing by first rotating your hips and torso back. So a ball is coming at you. You push your weight onto your back leg, then as you swing, you bring your weight forward. And as you're doing that, you'll see my shoulders are moving like this. You know you're doing it right when you can see your shoulders point from here to there. So what you're doing is onto the back leg, rotating your torso, and then playing your shot. This is the power of the kinetic chain. You can generate a lot more power on your shots. Your hips, your core, your legs, those are the most powerful muscle groups in your body, not your arm. And the fourth mistake I used to make was, but before that, you should consider joining the Daily Edge. And this is only for players that are serious about their progress. And if you've made it this far in the video, you probably are. All it is I send out one high value, actionable, golden nugget sort of tip every single day for free that you can implement into your training and see immediate improvements. We discuss things like mental frameworks to implement in your matches, your training, little adjustments that you can make, ways you can think about things, common pitfalls, traps to avoid. My dog is barking while I'm recording. Check the link in the description and let's move on. Now the fourth mistake I used to make was a late contact point. I used to wait significantly longer than what was necessary to then play my shot. I should have been hitting the shot at the top of the bounce, but I let it drop way too far. Why is this bad, you ask? This makes it a drawn out, less assertive shot than it could be. You tend to go more on the defensive when you take the ball really late. The key is to be proactive and contact the ball at the peak of its bounce. Yes, there's a little bit of margin for error. Maybe a tiny bit earlier or a tiny bit later can work, but you want to aim for the peak of the bounce. Contact the ball at its highest point. Hitting the ball earlier instead of later allows you to use the ball's own momentum, which adds to the power on your shot. Contacting the ball out in front of you as opposed to next to you or behind you also allows you to engage the kinetic chain a lot more effectively. If you're playing from behind your body, you lose a lot of power. The fifth mistake is the flat hitting trap. This is where you'll try and hit through the ball in an attempt to generate more power and neglect the brushing aspect of the stroke where all the spin is generated. Why do players do this? They think it's more powerful, but what they don't realize is their margin for error on the shot goes down a lot. So they have to smash perfectly to get the ball on the table. Whereas if you generate spin, you have a lot more margin for error because the ball dips back onto the table. Look, a flat hit can sometimes feel powerful, but it's very difficult and inconsistent to perform. Instead of hitting straight through the back of the ball, you want to brush the ball by going forward and up. This is going to allow you to create a lot more spin. And why is this actually so effective? When the ball spins in this direction towards you, the Magnus effect triggers a downward force on the ball. It causes the ball to dip back onto the table. So what generating the spin and using the Magnus effect to your advantage allows you to do, you can hit harder while ensuring the ball's going to go on the table because the spin is going to make the ball dip back onto the table. This is why it's so crucial to not just hit flat, but actually brush the ball on your forehand. You can play a lot faster of a shot, more spin, more quality, but you also have a much higher margin for error. Now the sixth mistake is the unnecessary follow through. I can't tell you how many videos and different iterations I have of a crappy forehand stroke. You know, at one point I was doing something like this, at one point I was doing something weird. It's just, you want to perform the stroke how you need to perform the stroke. There's no extra fluff before the shot or after the shot that you need to do. It's a simple action. You go from point A to point B in the quickest and most efficient way possible. You don't need extra stuff at the end, before and after the stroke. You can exaggerate your follow through, but I'm telling you, it's not generating any more power. What's generating power is how quickly you accelerate from point A to point B whilst hitting the ball in the process. There's nothing extra that a little swag or twist in your arm is going to do to the shot. You just want to go from here to here as fast as you can. What I like to do is stop my stroke at the center line of my body. So if I was to cut a line through here, start here, finish here. Another massive disadvantage of maybe an over-exaggerated stroke is that when you overcommit so much, your opponent can target your weak point so easily, and it takes you so long to get back into the next ready position to play your next shot. If you can keep your stroke a little bit more compact and only do what needs to be done, then you can get ready for the next ball a lot easier. So those 6 mistakes, they are not isolated issues that you have to fix individually. I mean, yes, they are, but they're all connected to a larger system. For example, a late contact point prevents the proper rotation and the use of the body because you're just contacting it so late, it's ineffective. Starting your stroke before you move will stop you from executing the weight transfer. You'll be stuck just using your arm, and you may even get stiff. By fixing and avoiding these mistakes, you're not just correcting bad habits, you're building a unified, synergistic system of movement that helps you perform your forehand to the best of your abilities. Apply what we've discussed in this video, and your forehand will become a reliable asset and a potent weapon. I'll see you in the next video.